Hey Five, can you guess where I am? I am in school this week and I thought I would take a minute out of the day to read a new book to you. I have chosen The Marble Crusher by Michael Murpurgo and I have broken this down into two videos. So I'm going to read half of the book today and I'm going to read the second half tomorrow. And I hope you enjoy it. At the end of the video, I'm going to tell you which classroom I'm in. See if you can get it right. Okay. So The Marble Crusher. Chapter 1. Albert was 10 years old. He was a quiet, gentle sort of boy, with a thatch of stiff hair that he twiddled when he was nervous. He had moved to town from the countryside. "We have to go where the work is," his mother had told him, and there was no work in the town. So Albert came from his little village school to a new school, a school which was noisy and full of strange faces. The other children called him Bert or Herbert, neither of which was his name. They kept asking him questions and they wouldn't leave him alone. There was somewhere to get away from it all, behind the bike shed in the playground, but never for long. By the end of each day, Albert felt like a sponge squeezed dry. He smiled so much that it hurt. He tried to laugh at everyone's jokes, and he believed everything they told him. He was a naturally trusting, and now, in the first few weeks of his new school, he wanted to please everyone, to make friends. They teased Albert, of course, and he was easy enough to tease, but Albert just smiled through it all. They called him Twiddler, and Albert smiled and went on twiddling his hair. He did not seem to mind. It was Sid Creedy who discovered that Albert would believe almost anything he told him. They were playing football in the playground at break time when Sid turned to his friends and said, "Watch this." He dribbled the ball over towards Albert, and his friends followed him. "My dad played centre forward for Liverpool," said Sid. "He did for years. Then they asked him to play for England, but he didn't want to. He didn't like the colour of the England football kit." That evening, Albert told his mother all about Sid Creedy's father, but his mother wasn't listening. She was too busy washing up. Encouraged by his success, Sid Creedy's stories became more and more fantastic. "You know Mr. Cooper?" "You mean the PE teacher?" "Yeah, him." Sid spoke in a confidential whisper, his arm around Albert's shoulder. "Wow. But no one else knows this. But Mr. Cooper isn't really a teacher at all. He's a monk who escaped." "How do you know that, Sid?" said Albert. "You look at his head," said Sid. "It's all bald in the middle, isn't it? You know, like Friar Tuck. Anyway, I found his broken brown cloak in the boot of his car. He always wears sandals and he never swears. And haven't you noticed he sings louder than anyone else in assembly?" "But why did he escape?" said Albert. Sid shrugged his shoulders. "Didn't like the food," he said. "And he knows you know?" "Of course he does, but I told him I'd keep it very quiet. You're the only one I've ever told." Albert went home and told his mother, but his mother was busy making his tea. "Mum," he said, "that Mr. Cooper at school, he's an escaped monk." "Yes, dear," she said. "Now get those wet shoes off before you catch your death." Back at school, Sid Creedy told Albert more and more of his secrets. Every teacher at school, it seemed, had a deep, dark secret. Even the headmaster, Mr. Manners. "He's got 6 wives," said Sid one day, "like Henry VIII." "He hasn't," said Albert. "Oh, yes, he has," said Sid, "and that's Mrs. Manners that teaches the infants. She's just one of the 6. And he's got 22 children." "He hasn't," said Albert. "Oh, yes, he has," said Sid, "and there's 2 more on the way." Back in the classroom, as Sid told his friends, he was triumphant. Albert had swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. At home, Albert tried to tell his mother about Mr. Manners. "Honest, Mum, he's got 6 wives." "What's that, dear?" "Mr. Manners, he's got 22 children," said Albert, "like Henry VIII, and he was away from school today." "Well, I hope he gets better," said his mother, and that was that. Conkers were over, and it was the marble season in mid-November. Mr. Manners hated marbles. Treacherous things, marbles, he said in assembly one morning. Slip on one and you could break your leg, just like that. In the playground, yes, play with them all you wish, but inside my school there will be no marbles. If I see or so much as smell a marble inside my school, it will be confiscated. And you know what that means? What does that mean, Sid? Albert asked after assembly. What does that mean? Confiscated? What does that mean? Sid smiled to himself. Crushed, he said. Crushed. That's what it means. Crushed. Same every year, said Sid, and he turned to all his friends. Isn't that right, lads? And they all nodded, and they had to turn away to hide their smiles. Sid went on in a hushed voice. It's like this, Bert. If your marbles are confiscated by old Mr. Manners, that means he takes them away and puts them through his machine, his marble crusher. A marble crusher? A marble crusher. He keeps it in his room under his desk. I've seen it. We've all seen it. That's where they go. So he's telling a lot of lies to poor Albert, and he believes them all. So that's the first half of the book, and I'm going to read the second half of the book in the next video. Did you guess which classroom I'm in? I am in 1VS, Miss Stewart's classroom. So thank you for letting me borrow it, Miss Stewart. See you soon.